Alright everyone, what's going on? I'm here with Tony Gomez from the Flor Dominicana Cigars, not to be mistaken for John Wick when I first saw him walk in. Wow, what an honor today, Tony. I mean, I've been looking forward to this one since our sales rep Penelope mentioned this to me earlier this month, and I have so many questions for you today. I know La Flor Dominicana is just one of those popular, established brands with like a lot of the phenomenal blends that you guys have been putting out in recent times. You guys know Andalusian Bull. We'll be talking a lot about that today as well. But I just want to start with just some of your background, how you came into the industry. I know your father is Lito Gomez, and you know it's just a pleasure to have you guys in Canada. And you know we want to just learn more about the brand and the company and the history and what you guys have in plans for the future. So first of all, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys taking the time and yeah, man. Correct. My dad is Lito. For those who don't know, he's a really cool guy with the hat and the horse. Yeah. He's got the cool accent, way cooler than I am. But yeah, man, that's it. Good to be here, dude.
Yeah, sure. Awesome, man. So, correct me if I'm wrong. You would be the second generation cigar maker, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
After your father. So, at what point did you realize cigars was going to be a permanent career for you? And how old were you at the time?
So you know, it was never like destiny or anything. It was one of those situations where I was groomed to take over the company or whatever. You know, my dad was always very insistent on like, listen, man, do whatever makes you happy, follow whatever you like to do, and you know, if it just so happens to be cigars, that's great.
Yeah.
But the most important thing in life is to find something that you love. You know, whatever that might be.
Absolutely.
So you know, when I was in college, actually, you know. All my life, all I really cared about, I wanted to do something creative with my life. You know, so like my first love was music. I played a few instruments, and you know, when I was in college, I studied writing, and you know, I was thinking of going to film school and doing screenwriting and all that. And funny enough, I think you know, I had like a moment of clarity sometime around my senior year, and I'm pretty sure I was, you know, like actually playing beer pong. I was a little over the hill, a little drunk, and I just had like this kind of moment of clarity where. You know, it's like I realized most people don't get opportunities like this in life, and
Absolutely.
If I don't at least give this a shot, then I'm an idiot, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, so you gotta. I figured I have to give it a shot. You know, it's something interesting, something different, you know. And you know, I know my dad worked really hard to do all of this, so and I knew he would be very happy to, you know, to work with me and all that. So I called him. I said, you know what? Let's try it. Let's try it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I'll do something else in my life, whatever, you know, whatever. But so, yeah, we chatted and decided that I would start off as a sales rep.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I graduated, I got on the road and I covered the whole state of Florida as a rep. And like, you just really, this industry is a special kind of unique thing, and you really fall in love with it very quickly. And just the people and everything, and it didn't take long before I felt like, okay, you know, I like this, and I like this, I could do this, I'm in.
100%.
But then, you know, when I moved down to the factory around 2012 or so, and then I started getting involved in the creative process of it all, that's when it really, like...
Really
clicked for me, you
100%.
know, I could do this forever, you know.
Sure.
And you know, so it worked for me because that's all I've ever wanted to do. I wanted to be involved in something creative in my life. You know? And, this has given me that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe La Flor Dominicana, the company itself, is around 30 years old, give or take.
It's our 30th.
This is your 30th year, right? What do you guys do? Any particular blend to honor that?
We did. We showed it at the trade show this year in Vegas.
Yeah.
And we made this like beautiful humidor with a special cigar we blended. Nice. It's going to be a limited thing. We're making 2,000 in the humidors. Yeah. And they'll start to trickle out soon. In the States first, you know, but they will get to Canada.
Absolutely.
You know, we've already talked to our distributor here, Brigham, and they're super interested in it. They want to bring it in, so they will be here.
Right.
Great cigar.
Like, can you go over the evolution during that 30 years? Because traditionally, from my understanding, I'm not a cigar expert by any means. I'm still learning every day, like everyone else. But Dominican cigars generally milder tobacco, but you guys have kind of transitioned to more of a full body, powerful, rich blend from the Dominican. And what has that been like, that evolution? Like, why take that route? Is it just because it's a subjective taste that you guys wanted to put out for the rest of the world? What was the creative process behind that?
Yeah, so like you said, the Dominican Republic traditionally made mild cigars. The traditional Dominican cigars, a Connecticut shade wrapper, and Dominican fillers and binders, and mild. It's smooth, creamy, mild, and that's that's what the old guard liked. They made the cigars that they liked, and that was it. There's a misconception that you can't grow full-body tobacco in the Dominican Republic, and the soils or whatever. It's not. None of that's true. The tobacco that we grow in our farm in DR, I will put up against any in the world.
La Canela?
In terms of strength, in La Canela. In terms of strength, flavor, all that stuff. I don't think anybody can grow stronger tobacco than we can. So that's all a myth. You can do it. It was just back then people didn't, that's the cigar they liked, and that's what they made.
Even some of the wrappers that I see on some of the blends that we have in our humidor, a lot of our consumers mistake them for like maybe a broadleaf or San Andreas, such as the LFD chisel.
Right.
And as far as I'm aware, that's an Ecuadorian wrapper.
So the natural chisel is
the Maduro.
Sumatra.
I was referring to
the Maduro is a broadleaf.
A broadleaf.
Yeah.
And that particular cigar is innovative in the sense that the chisel is the first ever patented shape.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And it's one of those cigars where you can be smoked without a cutter. Explain to us how that's even possible.
So the story goes, Pops, he was driving to the factory one day, and he had a normal cigar, like a Robusto or something, and I don't know what was irking him that day. Maybe he was frustrated about something, but he was biting down on it, which he doesn't normally chew on his cigars or anything.
Yeah.
But he must have been pissed off that day, and he bit down on it and flattened it, and it's at one moment he pulled it out of his mouth, and he flattened it into a kind of a chisel shape,
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was just one of those eureka moments where the light bulb went off. He's like, holy
not?
shit, that's interesting. Yeah. And he got to the factory, got a cigar, whittled it down with a little blade, and put a wrapper on it, and the chisel was born. And it like you said, it's the first patented cigar shape ever.
It's
and
the first ever
became very
patented.
symbolic of LFD.
Yeah. Yeah, because we put on an event for our customers just, I think, about a year ago, and I was describing the different ways you can cut this cigar. Now, you bite down on the chisel, it opens up, but you can also hole punch both sides of the chisel. Some people
so
do that.
If you look at all the original advertising for the chisel, the original intent, and still is, it's you take a punch and you poke the flat side here on the top.
Yeah.
Some people like to do both sides. You don't have to. Just one is enough, and it's kind of like a one of these pipes where the smoke goes up and it hits you in the roof of your mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
And it changes the vibe of the smoke. It almost kind of cools the smoke a little bit, and it's very unique. It's a different experience. So I always tell people to try it. If you don't like it, then you could cut it or whatever. But it's worth a shot. And if not, if you don't have a punch cutter, you could just pinch the sides, the corners, and the cap pops off.
There you go. Yeah. So for those who struggle keeping track of their cutters, and you have a chisel in your humidor, you don't even need one. Don't worry about it. Speaking of the innovative products that I've been seeing from LFD as a company, the size of the Andalusian Bull, I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because that one is unique to me in the sense that it has about 4 or 5 transitions of flavor. At least 3, from what I recall when I smoked it. What's the size on that?
It's a 64 at the fattest end, and a 52 at the thinnest.
Yeah.
So it's got a big taper, and that's why
it
falls a
tapers.
lot as it's smoking.
The evolution is the flavor profile, the transition is extremely apparent. When I smoke, it's in your face. You can clearly see that distinction. And that is an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper.
Right, correct.
And then are the binder and filler from your farms?
Yeah, the great majority is.
The great majority is from your
farms.
farms.
A little bit of a Nicaraguan tobacco in there,
right?
In the filler, but yeah.
Yeah, what was that like when you first heard about that award-winning nomination in 2016?
So they announced it at the end of December. And I was actually already on vacation because all the factories in the Dominican Republic, they close for a few weeks at the end of the year for the holidays. So the factory was closing, and I have a lot of family in Uruguay still.
Okay.
And so I went down there with my mom, and it's a good story because we had just started working with a distributor in Argentina, right? And Uruguay and Argentina are neighbors, and you could take a ferry from Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay, to Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina.
Wow.
And so we had made a plan that while I was there, I was going to hop on the ferry, cross over, and we were going to do a couple events and all that in Buenos Aires. And so he placed his order, and Argentina's really complicated, and the orders are stuck in customs for like 2 months before they can actually retrieve the cigars.
Oh, wow.
It actually worked out like perfectly. He got them like the week before I was there, and we were kind of panicking, but it worked out.
Yeah.
So I'm on the ferry crossing over to Buenos Aires, and I'm in kind of no man's land between the two cities, and there's no cell phone reception, right? So I'm just kind of like blissfully ignorant to what's going on, because at that exact moment, the #1 cigar of the year was announced, right? Yeah. So I had no idea.
That's crazy.
And I'm just kind of there, like, just sitting back, looking at the water, whatever. And as we approach Buenos Aires, my phone connects to the towers there, and this barrage of messages and everything. And
wow.
Like, I don't know, did somebody die? Like, I don't know what happened. It was very strange. And so I start checking the messages, and everybody's saying, congratulations, oh my God, congratulations.
Holy. Number one, it's huge. I mean, so at the time, for LFD too, right? Like,
right.
Because,
of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was as popular as it was until that nomination.
Right. The history of our company is measured, I measure it pre-bowl and post-bowl.
Wow, yeah.
It made all the difference, everything changed after that.
That's awesome, man. I mean, Andalusian Bull is just one of those blends that whenever we get a chance to get our hands on in the Canadian market, at least, it's a no-brainer. And I think a lot of our friends and customers feel the same way. And I want to transition to a topic that has been of discussion in recent times when I speak with people within our cigar community here locally, and sometimes when I travel too. Most recently, I went to Nicaragua, and I was having a discussion with one of the factory workers there, and we were talking about the differences in products from Nicaragua and the Dominican and even Honduras. Have you noticed any increased competition with the rising popularity of Nicaraguan cigars as opposed to Dominican cigars?
The cigar industry today is the most competitive it's ever been, and the best cigars that have ever been made in human history are being made today, right now. So there's never been a better time to be a cigar smoker, and that's Dominican Republic and Nicaragua and Honduras and Cuba. But at least I like to call us the free world cigars. The level of quality is
unparalleled. Yeah, I mean, truly, like the consistency is something you can count on from New World countries. Yeah, absolutely. What is it about Cuban cigars that gave you that icky feeling? Is it just because they haven't made new innovative blends in recent times, or is it because you need a cutter when you cut the cigar?
I'll put it this way, man. And this is the way I see things logically. You go to any factory in Dominican Republic or in Nicaragua, right? Every factory has an owner who supposedly cares about their product, right? Like, sure. You light up a bad LFD, right? What are you going to think of? You're going to think of this mug right here.
Tony, right?
And I don't want you to think of me in bad moments.
100%.
You understand?
Yeah.
Now you tell me, you go down, to Cuba, and you tell me who cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's the person that cares?
Right. It's hard. It's hard to put a face to that, right? Yeah.
Communism is not conducive to quality manufacturing.
100%. Okay.
That's the way I see it.
I feel. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a valid statement for sure. So you obviously you're what part of Dominican is your factory based in? Like, what region should I ask?
It's called the Cibao Valley, right?
Yeah.
But the capital of that region is Santiago. And that's the city where we're at. We're specifically in a little town outside of Santiago called Tamboril, which is like the mecca of cigar rollers in the Dominican Republic. That's where you have the best rollers, but also it's just like, it's so ingrained in the culture there. It's passed down from generation to generation. Fathers teach their children, and so on and so forth. But that's where that's the hub of cigar manufacturing in the Dominican Republic. And
how often do you visit down there yourself? Do you oversee the entire process from seed to completion, or are you just in and out?
I live there.
You live there?
I live in the Dominican Republic. So I'm in the factory every day. And my father, for 30 years, what he's done is, he flies down to Dominican Republic on Mondays. He flies back to Miami on Fridays.
Wow.
And No, listen. There's no bullshit at LFD. We're not making up stories about this and that. There's a lot of tales being told in this industry, but we own our own farm. We own our own factory. We control the entire process behind our cigars ourselves. We're not the biggest company in the world, but all we care about is quality and making good products. And we love cigars, man. Like I love cigars, and I can't smoke bad cigars. So if I'm smoking LFDs all day, they got to be good. And my father's the same way. Yes. So we're making cigars for us. Yeah. That's the way I see it.
Very valid. So from my understanding, your favorite cigar size, the Lonsdale, a 6 to 7 by 42 format.
Yeah, is that right fair? Around that range. Yeah.
And that's what we're looking at here with this Andalusian Bull in the Lonsdale. And some of you guys haven't even seen it or heard of this. I've seen a few articles on Cigar Aficionado, but the unique part about this creative process to me is how they used NFTs to their advantage and leveraged it into sort of just auction it off to a bunch of owners, and now that's only allowed to be sold to them.
Right.
Is that so? At what point did you realize NFTs could be a thing that could be combined in the cigar business? Because cigars being so traditional in its own way, and NFTs, a lot of even like the younger generation don't even understand NFTs.
Yeah.
So what a link for you to put that together. How did that come about?
Well, an important thing to know, like the way I see it is. We began 30 years ago, right? And it was just a crazy idea my dad had. Didn't make any sense at the time. It was probably a stupid idea, but he made it happen. But we didn't have like a family history, right? So we didn't have to like follow my grandfather's tradition, my great grandfather's tradition, all that, And there's a lot of classic traditional brands that are awesome brands and all that, but you don't become that, that takes time, So
right.
You can't just try to imitate them. If you could do something different, you could be different. I think that's the best route to take. And our MO has always been to be a little different, be a little unique, do different things.
Yeah.
So I think this project really worked with, the ethos of, who we are. But so this cigar started like 2019. I just had this idea, because I love the Bull Blend. I don't love big cigars. And I was like, this is probably gonna be really good in like a Lonsdale, and this 42 by 6 1/4, my favorite size personally. So, at the factory one day, I just had some samples made of it, that blend in this size, and I smoked it, and it was just like love at first puff, it just became my favorite cigar ever immediately. And I made it for a couple years, kind of just for myself. I hand them out to friends and colleagues, and with the intention of eventually selling it. But I wanted to do something different, and I didn't know what that was, But I figured the idea will come eventually, and I just sat on it until it did. And one day I was home after dinner, on the couch having my cigar, and I read a lot of Reddit.
Likewise. All the time.
So I'm just flipping through Reddit having my smoke, and I run into this article about this guy, a graphic artist named Beeple, sells an NFT for $60 million, and I'm like, what the
light bulb right away.
What? And what the hell is an NFT? Nice. Who's Beeple? Nice. Yeah. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole on it because it was just intriguing. What is this stuff? And I learned a little bit about what NFTs are. I kind of got the gist of it, and so my first thought is like, how can I get involved in this?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a graphic designer, but I'm not a famous graphic designer, so nobody's gonna buy my art.
Not yet.
Yeah, well, yeah. So nobody's gonna buy my art. That's like, it doesn't make any sense. But and I'm looking at the cigar, and just again one of those light bulb moments. Like, can a physical product be an NFT? Because as far as I knew, it was all just digital art.
Yeah.
Which didn't make a lot of sense to me as an investment. I really don't understand why people were buying these things as investments. But I was like, well, an actual tangible thing with value, well, that's interesting, know?
Right.
So, I hopped on like Discords and stuff and started talking and asking people if, this makes any sense. And basically people were like, the NFT is whatever you want it to be, really. So there's no reason why you can't.
What does it stand for those wondering?
It's a non-fungible token. Right.
Okay.
So it's a lot more. Sounds a lot more complicated than it really is. At the end of the day, it's a unique way to auction something off online to the world, and you have a digital token which you can prove you own. And since it's all on the blockchain, like crypto, Bitcoin, anything else, the transfer of it from one person to another, it's all in there. The history of the movements of that token can be traced. So whoever owns the NFT can prove that they're the owner, you know?
Absolutely.
And so yeah, it sounded like a really crazy idea, but it was one of those things where it might be crazy enough to work, you know? And I remember it was like, I had gone deep down the rabbit hole, you know, and it was like 2 a.m. at that point. And I was like, I want to do this, you know? And I sent my dad a text message like, you know, Dad, I've got this really crazy fucking idea, but I think it could really work, and just give me a call as soon as you wake up. He called me, I explained it all to him in my rudimentary understanding, and he was like, you know, Tony, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but do it, man.
Sounds like my dad right there.
Let's give it a shot. And so we did. We found a company to do like all the technical work for us, like the back end, create the NFTs and the auction site and everything.
That's amazing,
and
man.
Then the rest was history.
That's amazing. So 7 people have the rights to this Lonsdale Andalusian bull, right?
They have the rights to purchase it from us.
The rights to purchase from you. Okay.
And, you know, they resell the cigars.
They can resell it and everything. Awesome. Question for you. This is a little bit of a heated topic between my brother and I when it comes to cigars. Is this this specific size format? I mean, obviously it's your favorite. So, you know, 6 to 7 by 42 ring gauge. Do you think it enhances the flavor because it's a narrower cigar, or do you believe that a larger cigar, you know, has more smoke output, therefore you could kind of experience the flavor better?
So a thinner ring gauge will, the wrapper starts to take over a little more as the thinner the cigar gets. You get more of the wrapper. Whereas with a bigger ring gauge, you know, the fillers really dominate the flavor profile. I don't think it really matters what the ring gauge is. Like the amount of flavor, it's all up to the tobaccos that are in the blend, you know. So just because the cigar is thinner or larger, it's not gonna have more flavor, more body. I just like the visually, aesthetically, like there's like some kind of there's an elegance to the size.
There is an elegance. I was gonna say elegance. I mean that's the impression I get when I hold this blend. In the cigar. So I mean, you're saying that regardless of the tobaccos used and whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just you know.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I mean,
it doesn't matter what tobaccos you use. I
mean, I'm just saying there's gonna be more filler in the larger cigar, but in the smaller one you get more wrapper.
But filler, I mean, filler's packed with flavor. You know, it's not that wrapper has more flavor than filler or anything like that. Tobacco's tobacco. You know, if it's good tobacco, it's good tobacco. Now, if you pack a 60 ring gauge cigar with a bunch of like very thin seco leaves from the bottom of the plant, it's going to be very mild and it's not going to be you know, very in your face. But if you pack it with, you know, some dense ligeros and some, you know, some of the good stuff, it's going to have a lot of flavor and power.
So the double ligero that you guys put out in your portfolio, what component of the cigar uses double ligero? Is it a double ligero wrapper, double ligero? So is it everything ligero?
There's a little bit of a misconception.
what are you talking about here?
There's a little bit of misconception. So people think that double ligero is a specific type of tobacco, which it's not. So, you know, on the plant, we divide into like 3 sections, right? That we take 3 textures of tobacco from a plant, which is ligero, which tends to be, you know, at the top. They get the most sunlight, they're the thickest. Visos are in the middle, and then secos are at the bottom. Secos are the thinnest since they get the least amount of sunlight. Ligeros are a lot more full-bodied, right? So early 2000s, we released a blend called Ligero, which at the time was one of the most full-bodied blends on the market. But the market has evolved since then, you know, and cigars have gotten more and more powerful and, you know, more interesting. And so double ligero just refers to it's got more ligero than the ligero. You know? It's just more.
So it's just an absolute powerhouse of a cigar.
It's a full-bodied cigar, and you know, most cigar smokers, at least all LFD smokers, have at least one story of a time that a double ligero made them pull their car over, they had to puke, or you know, something. So you got to be prepared for it. You need like, you know, your stomach should be full, and you get a comfy chair. And
without question. Speaking of specific types of tobacco, is there a particular tobacco that you have particular interest to that you enjoy working with yourself?
Well, I like our fillers from our farm. Piloto in particular is my favorite tobacco in the world. The Piloto that we grow on our farm. And I always try to incorporate it in anything I'm working on. But you know, I'm biased obviously, but I just love the tobaccos from our farm. But there's a lot of great stuff from all around the world. You know, we buy some excellent tobacco from Nicaragua, the wrappers from Ecuador.
Yeah.
There's one wrapper in particular from Brazil that I really, really love.
Yeah.
Called Cubra. And there's a lot of good stuff all over the place. You'd be surprised. There's even, you know, like, there's some really good tobacco from Peru, too.
From Peruvian tobacco. Yeah, without question. Are you guys, like, looking to incorporate any of that or is it already established? And what blends can we see some of those more exotic tobaccos you mentioned, like Cubra and Peruvian tobacco? Like
the Brazilian Cubra we use in that's the wrapper for Lennox for Chapter 1.
Nice, Chapter 1. Yeah,
we use it as binder in a few different blends too, and the Peruvian, you know, we don't get a lot of it, but there are a couple, like some of the more limited edition stuff that we do. We'll sneak in a little bit of it, you know, because it's got a lot of kick and a lot of flavor, you know, it's unique. So, like, that's something we use in a lot of, like, the limited production stuff.
Absolutely. Do you have a particular cigar in your portfolio that is your absolute favorite, or is it the one that you're... I figured.
That's my favorite, but I'm also pretty partial to the Cameroons.
Yeah, Cameroons, likewise. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I guess the Lennox is a special one to me, too.
How often do you, like, is there a cigar that you guys are working on right now? How long would it take for you to finish that project? Is it variable?
It varies greatly.
Yeah.
You know, for example, like Lennox, right? Yeah. It was just like one of those strokes of luck, and it's not even because of skill or anything, because you know, blending at the end of the day is trial and error, and you work it and work it and work it and tweak it until it's perfect, you know.
Yeah.
But like Lennox, you know, I always start down writing a blend, like I'll kind of imagine in my head, you know, the direction I want to go in. I'll write down one starting blend, and usually the idea is, okay, smoke that, start tweaking, you know. So I smoke the first one, then I'll make 3 variations off of that one, and then tweak and tweak and tweak until you get there. But Lennox was, I wrote down a blend, the samples were made, I lit it up, and it was fucking perfect, you know. And it was just like pure luck, you know, just pure dumb luck. And so that can happen, but there's also been blends that have taken 30 iterations before you get it perfect, you know, or 50, you know.
What's the blend on that Lennox?
It's got a Brazilian wrapper, the Cubra. It's got a broadleaf binder, and it's got fillers from our farm in the DR.
Yeah, I mean that's quite the composition put together. I mean, that's like Brazilian wrapper, broadleaf binder.
Yeah, it's got these like real nice, like just dark chocolate, like roasted coffee type flavors. You know, it's a unique smoke, I think.
Anything in particular you're working on now that you are allowed to speak on, or you feel like is okay, or do you want to just?
There are a couple projects I won't divulge too much, but we're always working on something. You know? There's always things in the back pocket, and you know. So there are a couple of projects going, yeah.
What's your favorite part when traveling to Dominican besides the cigar business in of itself? You know, like, is this like a vacation spot for you sometimes, or strictly business?
Well, again, I live there, so I'm like an honorary Dominican at this point. But
nice.
I love the country. I love the people. Some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life, and there's just, you know, there's something to it that I'm starting to appreciate the older I get, and I think a lot of Canadians might appreciate this. It just feels like you're really in a free country, man. You know, like you can do whatever the hell you want. Sometimes it might be free to a fault, that country, but like, you know, dude, you can smoke wherever you want. You know, you can smoke outside any restaurant. You smoke at the beaches. You smoke here. You smoke there. And here's a perfect example. This was like 11, 12 years ago, right? We needed to expand the factory. So we bought a big plot of land right next to the factory. And, you know, in the Dominican Republic, man, you own the land, you build. It's yours. You do what you want, you know? So we bought this plot of land and we built a giant warehouse. At the same time, in our office in Miami, which is in Coral Gables, it's kind of like a ritzier neighborhood, so it's a pain in the ass. We wanted to put an awning over the door of the front door of the office. Yeah. Took 5 months to get approval. You know, this is the kind of stuff you got to deal with in the U.S. and, you know, definitely in Canada. And, you know, it's just like, you know, the government is just like, man, it's just like weighing on you more and more all the time. There's restrictions and this and bullshit and red tape. And, you know, the DR, I've learned to appreciate that a lot. Yeah. It just feels like a free country, man. You could...
Yeah, well, I wish I can share the same sentiment living in Canada, especially being in the cigar business. They make you feel like, you're dealing with hardcore drugs whenever you have a cigar retailer around with excessive plain packaging. And most recently, I don't know if you've been told, but we have this rule where every single bundle or box of cigars, 75% of it is covered in health warning labels, taking away from the artistic branding of the box, which is such a shame because something like company like yours, for example, the Flor Dominicana has phenomenal artistic branding on the band, so a lot of people appreciate that. One of the few benefits to purchasing an LFD product in our humidor as opposed to some of the other brands is, at the very least, it's double banded. You will get the chance to appreciate. I know this sounds crazy to even have to talk about it as a benefit in the first place, but it's this is where we're at right now in Canada.
You can see the packaging.
This is where we're at right now. This the restrictions, regulations continuously pile on, and a lot of the customers just want to know, does it at least have the original band? With LFD, absolutely. You'll see a lot of the ones, like for example, this is the chisel that we talked, or Double Ligero, right? That's the chisel patented cigar shape that we were speaking of earlier. I mean, everything here is as artistic as it gets. So yeah, it's just one of the many bonuses that I can think of top of my head right now for LFD in general.
I think it's important that people, we like to keep the actual band on under the stupid generic one,
100%.
so that you people buy a cigar, it's real. You take off the ugly one, and then you can see the real one under, and you can feel confident that you bought the real thing. And I think it's just it's part of it. The visual part of the cigar, the box, the ring, everything. It's all part of it. And it plays into the enjoyment of it, and so I don't want to take that away.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, at least over in the States, you guys had a huge victory last year with the approval. I mean, what was that about? With you guys were supposed to be classified as the same as cigarettes, but you were lobbying against that and ended up coming out victorious.
So there's a clown show in the United States called the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration.
Food and Drug Administration.
Who took it under their, for some reason, I guess, the people there have to justify their jobs, right? They got nothing better to do. So
we feel the same
they decided that cigars are the same as cigarettes and we should be regulated just like they are.
Yeah.
We obviously do not agree with that. So we have an organization called the CRA, Cigar Rights of America, which
you were a board member of.
Right. I got elected to the board of last year. And formed to fight this kind of stuff, right? And our goal has always been to create a separate category, a definition for what is a premium cigar, which is hand-rolled, long filler, no additives, no flavors, a real cigar,
No additives.
The stuff that we like. So our battle has always been that premium cigars are different.
Right.
And throughout this process, we've acquired some very interesting studies. Government funded, not funded by us, right? We can't afford to do that kind of stuff. But there's a government funded study that says, and they use as a barometer people that smoke 1 to 2 cigars daily, which is far above average. Most cigar smokers probably smoke 1 a week, 2 a week, something like that. The study shows that somebody who smokes 1 to 2 cigars daily has no increased mortality rate whatsoever compared to somebody who's never smoked anything.
Yep.
And this is hard science,
Absolutely.
There's the other argument, because, we debunk that we kill people because we don't kill people. This is a family industry, man. Like we employ our children, our brothers, our nieces. And I know all of our competitors. I know them. We're not trying to kill our family members. And I'm not an evil person. If I thought that what I was doing was killing people, I would stop doing it.
You would think.
But we have another study funded by the FDA, and it was skewed, but still. They tried to prove that children were attracted to cigars, which is ridiculous. Wow. And the studies show that there's no appeal to children. Because
I've never seen a single child walk into the shop here in 10 years that I've worked here.
They don't smoke premium cigars, So it was like a 10-year court battle, and the judge essentially ruled that the FDA was full of shit. They didn't do any of their due diligence, and that these products do not deserve to be regulated like they want to. So it was a huge win to an industry as small as ours to defeat the FDA is really unprecedented. Massive. So we won. They're appealing. They'll probably lose that. But our goal now, I was just in D.C. a few weeks ago meeting with congressmen and senators. We're trying to pass a law to kind of solidify the ruling that would legally make us a separate category.
Legally,
And we're trying to find champions in Congress and the Senate for that.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, but that's our current mission.
I mean, forget like the ridiculous notion that they want to classify with cigarettes and other forms of tobacco. Think about the tradition and the history that cigars have to offer. Think about the time it takes that goes into a cigar, years and years of effort. I mean, I'm sure, Tony, talk about like the average process of seed to completion for cigars. And
Right.
It's just ridiculous to compare that to anything else.
I mean, listen, like the growing takes about 100 days from seed to when you start harvesting. You start harvesting, then you cure, and they go into the curing barns. That takes another 45 days or so.
Yeah.
Right. Then it comes to the factory where you start fermentation, and that's a process that could take a year to a year and a half of fermentation before you have really good tobacco.
Right.
Because raw tobacco from the farm is not good.
Absolutely.
You don't want to smoke that.
Yeah. No.
And then after fermentation, pack them in the bales. Goes through a good 5-6 months of aging. Those bales are open. The cigars are rolled. They're put into the rolling room, into the aging room. That's another 2-3 months of aging. And all in all, the process takes a good 3 years. It's a very time-consuming process.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very different from cigarettes or mass market or any of the other stuff.
That's just one of the kind of like projects that we're working in the Canadian industry too. We want to raise awareness to a lot of the consumers in this market. Anyone that smokes cigars, really, that I've seen walk in here is already familiar with that. But unfortunately, we have people in power that, or they've never smoked a cigar in their life, and they want to tell that construction worker who comes home from work after like a rough day, like 10-hour shift, you can't light this up here, you can't light this up there, this is toxic to the community, this is cancerous, and all XYZ, just a whole bunch of notions that we want to have a rebuttal for. So we hope to raise more awareness about that, and we'll see what happens in the near future. It's not looking good for us right now. We've lost it. Well, what advice would you have to the Canadians in the cigar industry here, and that for people who want to lobby against the government? What can they do to kind of reach out and make an impact?
Well, I don't know exactly how the government functions here in the lobbying and all that, but I do understand that in most countries you need money to make things happen.
Sure.
So you need to organize. People need to contribute. Retailers, consumers, what have you. Anybody who cares about the issue, you need to organize. And you have a lot of ammo now from the United States, from what we've been able to accomplish there.
Yeah.
You have the studies that we have. You have the ruling, against the FDA. We have a lot of stuff, that you guys could use to your advantage. But most importantly, first and foremost, is you got to organize.
Yeah.
And if anybody's interested in making that happen, you can reach out to us at the CRA, and we can help however we can. We'd be happy to.
Right. To end this interview on a more of a positive note, we will have a promotion coming in honor of Tony Gomez himself. This is going to be 20% off on around 5 different blends from the Flor Dominicana. The first one I want to talk about here would be this El Capitulo, number 2. And, it took me a few tries to pronounce that correctly, but I finally nailed it. And talk about the blend on this one, Tony.
So, Capítulo 2, which translates to Chapter 2,
yes,
was the follow-up to Chapter 1, which
yes.
That was the first blend that I ever worked on, when I moved down to the factory. It's just an awesome cigar, man. It's dense, it's spicy, there's a lot of different flavors, complexity, and it's got some kick to it. So again, you want to have some food in your stomach for it.
For sure.
But it's a chisel, we were talking about earlier. It's a box press chisel. First time we ever did a box press chisel.
Yeah.
And it's just a cigar with a lot of character, man.
Yeah. And the next one we have here, this Ligero.
The Ligero L500.
Yeah.
One of our most popular cigars. That's kind of like our bread and butter, Great smoke, a lot of nuance, again, some body, some pepper, some good kick to it.
For sure.
But it's an excellent smoke. If you like big ring gauges, then that's,
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is another Ligero. Absolutely. Which one? L300?
That's the L300 Cabinet Oscuro.
That's what I was thinking of, first of all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one, talk about this one. Like, what differentiates? Because I see them both called Ligero. One of them's more of a bolder color, and one of them's more of a lighter color.
So
What's
this is a Maduro version of this one, right? They're
Right.
different sizes as well, but they're part of the same line. So the guts are the same. The wrappers are different. One's got a Maduro, one's got a natural.
Yep.
And again, one of our most popular cigars. That's one of my favorites too. I really like that cigar.
For sure. And then we got this Double Ligero right here, the chisel as well.
The notorious Double Ligero chisel. That's really that's a cigar that's taken down probably the most cigar smokers in the world.
Yeah.
It's done some damage.
Yes, this one right here is responsible for the most, for sure. And then, no, I'm just kidding. This one's for me.
That one's for you.
Yes. Alrighty, guys. Yeah, well, thank you so much once again. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully, we can see you back here soon again. It's been a pleasure, and I learned a lot from you today. And I hope everyone else here that watches in the future can say the same for sure.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
I love it, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
It was a great interview.
Yeah, thank you.